Now, if Hashem called Moshe, Vayikra Moshe, why does the Torah have to repeat that Hashem spoke to Moshe also? Obviously, if he called him, then he spoke to him. Well, we all know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he wrote the Torah, 974 generations before creating this world, with black fire on white fire, as the Gemara in Masechet Chagigah says, he did not write anything for no reason. Everything has a reason. Every letter, every point, every beginning or end statement, everything has a specific purpose, a specific lesson. And there are times that the Chachamim debate about specific things that we learn from the verse. But then one of the sages brings a verse and he says, this is what we learned from this verse. And one of the other sages says, you're right, we can learn this lesson from this verse, but we're not allowed to. Why? Because this verse is already utilized for a different lesson. This verse, we already put it in a different shelf. It's already teaching us a different law. We can't also learn this law from it. Meaning that everything is not just there free-for-all. You can just interpret the Torah the way you like and just pick and choose where you want to learn what you learn. The Torah is so precise. The law is so precise that every letter, every statement, everything has its own unique fingerprint on the creation. And therefore, when you see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu emphasizes something that seems to us unnecessary. Unnecessary. Why? If you called Moshe, then surely you spoke to him. And quite frankly, if you spoke to him, then obviously you called him. Why do I need you to mention both to me, especially in the same sentence? If it was in two different sentences, I could say maybe these are two different times. Maybe this, maybe that. I could posture in a lot of different ways. But when you're telling me that you called Moshe and then you spoke to him, now HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need help. I need help understanding why you did that. And I can't get help from my own mind because I can't trust my own mind. Because my own mind is not like the mind of the holy sages. So therefore I have to go to the holy sages. Onkelos, I need your help. Onkelos comes and he helps us. Onkelos says to us, Hashem called to Moshe, and Hashem spoke with Moshe to tell us a significant lesson relevant to our lives today. Each and every single one of us gets a calling from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Countless times throughout our lives. What is the difference between how HaKadosh Baruch Hu called Moshe and how he called you? How he called me? How he called her? How he called them? How? What is the difference? That you're going to say, yeah, of course, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu called Moshe, everybody heard. Moshe heard. It was a voice. I don't know. When did Hashem call me? I don't remember. I don't remember getting a call. What, is he calling me on the phone now? Maybe Hashem is up to date with the calls. What, you should send me a text message? When did Hashem call me? You're missing the point. HaKadosh Baruch Hu called you. And you would know it if you answered. Meaning the difference is not the voice. The difference is not a sound. The difference is if you recognize the call or not. Hashem called Moshe and Hashem spoke with Moshe. Why did Hashem speak with Moshe? Because when he called Moshe, Moshe answered. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Moshe different signs, Moshe was holy enough and clever enough to recognize the signs and know that this is from God. Ze li v'anveu. This is my God and I shall glorify him. Each and every one of us, whether male or female, young or old, Jew or Gentile, gets callings from HaKadosh Baruch Hu at different times of our lives. HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls us in different ways. But many times, the person does not have the holiness, the cleverness, the fortitude to recognize the calling from Hashem. It's much easier for them to pin that call on something else. Person goes to work like he did many times. On the way to work, he has a near-death experience where a truck almost hits his car, but doesn't. An 18-wheeler almost runs him over and kills him on the spot, but it doesn't. And many times he'll say, wow, such good luck. Wow. He doesn't recognize that this is God calling him. Sometimes he'll even say, oh, thank God, and just simply move on with his life. Meaning that there is no real ownership of that statement, thank God. He figured, oh, God made me a miracle, he saved me, and I could just go on with my life. Not realizing that that near-death experience was a calling. Sometimes a person gets a phone call from somebody that they haven't heard in a long time, or perhaps just the person they need to hear from. And say, wow, what a coincidence. Not realizing God is the one that did it. Sometimes a person is looking for something, and he opens the book right exactly on the page that he's looking for. Typically, that person knows that it's God calling him. These calls come for different reasons. There are many times a person gets called where they realize that they're on the wrong path. And instead of saying, oh, God is calling me, telling me that I'm on the wrong path, I'm in a relationship I shouldn't be in, I'm consuming things I shouldn't be, I'm involved in things that I shouldn't be, I'm giving towards things I shouldn't be, or perhaps the opposite. I have a blessing, but I'm not appreciating it. I have opportunities, but I'm too afraid to take them. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us different things in our lives and tries to get our attention. But if a person is not looking for that voice, he won't find it. Moshe Rabbeinu was constantly looking for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I remember when Rabbi Ephraim first taught me about the level of relationship that Moshe Rabbeinu had with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the level of relationship that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov had with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where they literally thought about Hashem every waking hour. The thought of thinking about God every waking hour was simply not possible in my mind at the time. How can you think about God at every single moment? I mean, to think about Him a few times a day, when you're praying, when you're doing a blessing, when something good or something bad happens, that I can understand. But to think about Him at all times, every time you take a step, every time you breathe, every time you hear, every time you see, at all moments, at every second, simply not plausible, not possible, not even something that is humanly it's just not realistic. But that's also because at that time, the voice that I was hearing, the calling that I was hearing, was very faint. Was almost unsure if it was really happening. Wasn't sure if it was God calling me, or it was simply me losing my mind after all the pain and agony. Many times a person gets a calling and he doesn't realize it's his calling. The Mishnah in Masechet Avot, in chapter 6, the second Mishnah, says that every day there is a voice coming out from Mount Sinai. There's a voice. Comes the Baal Shem Tov and says, if there's a voice Why doesn't anybody hear it?